keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm going to talk about day 3 defensive line targets. Believe it or not, these are the players I get the most emails, comments, questions about, because there is something happening with these defensive tackles later on in the draft that is getting people's attention. Now, there's always the possibility that some of the guys we're going to talk about in this episode could make it into day 2. That's definitely a possibility. If a team falls in love with you, you can move up. There's still a process here, as we're just about a month away from the draft, that somebody could reach up into that day 2, late round 3 potential place. And so that can happen. Just got to say that. But right now, from the consensus point of view from most, this is what the day 3 draft defensive tackles could look like. And there's a lot of really good football players that are going to be available in rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7, especially rounds 4 and 5, where you could find tremendous depth, guys that can stop the run at a high level, players that have a lot of potential that could still be 3-down players. You've got pass rush specialists. There's a lot to like. If you've got a flavor that you need to fill within your defensive line, this draft has it. So when we start going through these players, it's not going to be all one type. We're not just finding plugs, one-tech guys who are good run stoppers. We're not just finding guys that can play all 3 downs, that can stop the run, and they can rush the passer. But also we're going to find some of those guys that are just pass rush specialists. They're probably going to make their living coming in on 3rd down and getting after the quarterback, who probably aren't as good stopping the run as you would really like for a consistent defensive tackle in the NFL. But there's a place for all of it. And one of the reasons there's a place for those types of players is when you look at the 49ers roster, you can find a guy like Evan Anderson, who is built to be a 2-down run stopper. Plays on 1st down, he plays on 2nd down, he helps you get to 3rd and long, and then in comes a player that can rush the passer. We've seen the 49ers do that a variety of different ways. When they had a really solid rotation, right? Eric Armstead used to move inside next to DeForest Buckner. They would bring D Ford in on the outside, the athletic defensive end moving into defensive tackle. We've seen him do this with Javon Hargrave and others as well, where they rush from the inside. You've seen an Arden Key role where he did it. This year, they were going to go back to that with Yetur Gross-Matos and allow him to do it. So there's plenty of ways you can do this, but finding a defensive tackle that could just be a pure pass rusher later on in this draft could be something the 49ers definitely desire, especially because some of the teams in late 2023 and early 2024 took advantage of the 49ers going small up front with defensive ends and then running the football on late downs, right? Go back to the NFC Championship game in 2023, and it's 3rd and long, 3rd and 12, and the Detroit Lions give the football on the ground and it gets a 1st down. Those are the types of things that teams were doing when you go small. So NASCAR packages, or these elite run defense type groups that are pass rushers, they're wonderful. But having a guy that can also play the run a little bit is important as well. So this is going to be a really fun episode. We're getting a little deep now into the draft as we get into rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7 and finding some draft line targets in that range. I would say most of these guys are going to be 4 and 5, 4th and 5th round that we're going to talk about in this one. I still want to do even more because there's a lot of draft gems as we go deep into this draft and some potential targets that we want to talk about. Now, in this one, I am going to be talking about probably some of your favorite late round guys. But like always, if I miss somebody, if I don't have a chance to get to them, let me know in the comment section. And if I haven't got to them at all, like if I haven't got to watch them, I'll work on getting to that for sure. But if there's somebody that I broke down, I'll put them on a future episode because I know that you want to hear about them. Also, a lot of the players that I'm going to be talking about, most of the players I'm going to be talking about, breakdowns of them are available over on Patreon. 49ers Cutback on Patreon. Link is in the description. Go over there, check it out. I've broke down over 30 football players now. There's a new breakdown coming out every single day, so go check those out if you haven't already. But let's get into this. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. And there's this little thing going on right now, March Madness. If you're watching, maybe you want to enhance your ability watching it with a little bet online action on the side. That's what I enjoy doing, putting a little bit on it and enjoying, very responsible, but enjoying the opportunity to bet with Bet Online. And if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and check it out, because Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all the madness. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball to a $200,000 bracket contest, Bet Online has to be your number one sports betting source. From every Cinderella story to every hat trick, Bet Online is you cover with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. Bet Online, the game starts here. So, because this player I have gotten the most comments about, the most emails about, I have people in the comment section asking me if I even know who this player is. Of course, I know who this player is. That's CJ West out of Indiana. He's a fun player. And, just so far, I haven't worked towards talking about him here, but there's a Patreon breakdown available. So if you don't think I know who he is, I do know who he is. And I think he's a solid player, especially in round 4, round 5. He's a talented guy. He's athletic for his size. Got a lot of potential and a stature that the 49ers are familiar with. They don't mind going with smaller defensive tackles when it comes to height. And that's exactly what you're getting with CJ West. 6'1", 316 pounds. I'm sure he plays over 320 normally, but 49ers have went with this type of mold of defensive tackle before with DJ Jones. DJ Jones is built somewhat similar, 6 foot, to 6'1", 320 plus pounds, a guy that's got a pretty good first step, pretty good athleticism. That's exactly what you're getting with CJ West. Now, I'm not telling you CJ West is DJ Jones. What I'm telling you is these two have similar body styles and structures about how they go about themselves. So they play with low pad level for the most part. Both guys can rise as the game goes on, but they play with good leverage. And that's something to like about both guys. CJ West would fit the 49ers plug defender role or their one tech. So this is a guy that would be coming in for run stopping ability. He's not exactly your pass rusher. He would not be a 3 tech for the San Francisco 49ers. And that's one thing to remember when you're talking about the 49ers defensive front is you have one guy that's built to play the one tech and to take on double teams. And the other guy is built to be a penetrator, a guy that wins when he gets double teamed with speed, with athleticism, with getting skinny. There's things that he's going to do that are different from your plug defender, your big one tech defensive tackle. There's a spot for both. But this is kind of what the 49ers have done within the defense and what is traditional with a 4-3 style defense. So when I'm referring to different guys, I understand some of them aren't going to be great pass rushers and some of them aren't going to be great run defenders. And that's okay. If they are playing a one tech, they need to be a really good run defender. If they have pass rush upside, that's fantastic. When you're talking about a 3 tech, they need to be disruptors. They need to play in the backfield and they need to be able to get after the quarterback. If they can stop the run at a high level, that is a phenomenal thing to add on top of that. But that is not a predetermined thing you have to have when playing 3 tech. It's more important to be disruptive. It's more important to be aggressive and get across the line of scrimmage and reset that line of scrimmage. So you've got 2 entirely different types of defensive tackles that you're going to have to use and you're going to have to go with. So West fits into the one tech category, more known towards stopping the run. So that's something to remember with him. He did have 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble. He had 42 tackles, 14 of those solo. Now, the athleticism with a 4.95, that's on par with Walter Nolan. That's on par with Derek Harmon. That's on par with Kenneth Grant. So athleticism, when it comes to straight line speed, is definitely there. I would say CJ West, although good off the line of scrimmage, does not have the elite first step that those other guys I talked about do. So that is a difference. Kenneth Grant's faster off the football than CJ West, but these are 2 players that are kind of built into the same mold that would play the same position. So if you don't get Grant early, right, you have guys like Alfred Collins, you have Tyleek Williams, and you also have CJ West potentially as a guy that fits that plug defender role. There's lots of guys in this draft, but he's definitely one of those guys that does it. He's got good athleticism and good technique. So he's a player that you can be excited about. He plays with great leverage. A lot of that because of the height means he can get underneath offensive tackles and do a good job of holding up and anchoring against double teams. That's what makes him a really, really good run defender. One of the better run defenders in the draft. And that's the thing I think that makes him a very intriguing candidate for the 49ers, especially when you get to round 4 or round 5, where you're looking for somebody that can play that 2-down role. What is your thoughts on Evan Anderson? Well, if you like Evan Anderson, you still might want a second plug defender that can come in and stop the run as part of a rotation, the part of that Bravo group, but eventually could turn into a starter. I think when you're talking about CJ West, he has the ability to do that. I think you look at some of the other characteristics that he has. He understands what concepts are coming towards him. He understands blocking concepts. So he usually ends up in the right place at the right time, which is good. And so that is very nice for him. Understanding blocking schemes, understanding where he's supposed to be. That helps him be able to stack, shed, disengage, make the play in the backfield. So there is a penetration factor to him. He has the anchor as well. So a lot of potential upside with CJ West. I think that's where it goes, though. There's a lot of potential. He's tough to reach block. He's tough for a lot of zone schemes to be able to handle. But a lot of what he did, he played at the nose tackle, right head up over the center. It's going to be a little bit different playing a one tech. You'll occupy a little bit more double teams in that sort of category. So he's an interesting guy. I do like him. I think he's a talented guy. I think there are some weaknesses that possibly separate other guys from him. And one of those things is arm length. That's one of the reasons I don't have CJ West as a day 2 or day 1 pick, is because he's only got 31-inch arms. And sometimes that shows up on film when you get an interior offensive lineman that can get their long arms on him, beat him to his chest plate. They can secure control of him, and he has sometimes a harder time disengaging. So that's going to be one of the real weaknesses that's there. And then when you talk about first step, I talked about those other guys are better. He's got a good first step, but is adequate compared to the other guys who have an elite first step, which is a main Chris Kasarik category that he looks for. So good player. I like CJ West. I think he's a talented guy. I think he would make sense for the 49ers in round 4, round 5, and could be a potential impact player stopping the run. I don't think he's ever going to be a really good pass rusher, but he's got a lot of talent. So I do like him. Now, another guy that I'm a fan of is Joshua Farmer out of Florida State. 6'3", 305 pounds. He ran a 5'1", 40. Very talented guy. 35-inch arms. So we just talked about CJ West with 31.5-inch arms. Now, Joshua Farmer has 35-inch arms. Elite category for an interior defensive lineman. And you can see that on film. He's nimble. He's athletic. He's got ability to get in the backfield and disrupt. This is your 3-tech defender. So CJ West 1, Joshua Farmer a 3-tech. So this is the kind of guy you get if you don't get a Walter Nolan in round 1, or an Omar Norman Lott in round 3 potentially, or even a Derek Harmon, in the draft. This is a guy that you could get in later rounds as kind of in that mold. 4 sacks last season, 32 tackles. Tested pretty well, nothing crazy, but did a good job. I think the biggest thing would have been, the arm length, which is huge, and his wingspan is also big as well. So those are things that are going to help him operate on the inside, going against offensive linemen on the inside that are going to have 33, 32-inch arms. He's going to have some ability to get some control and win with that long straight arm to get in there. He has an explosive first step. So where we talked about CJ West being adequate, Joshua Farmer's is explosive. This is a disruptor. That's why he plays 3-tech, and he's really good when it comes to playing 3-tech. He is elite quickness for a guy his size. Now, he weighed in at the combine 305. I fully expect him to weigh 310, 315 when he plays in the NFL, which is going to make him one of the most athletic movers for a 3-tech that comes out of this draft. He's got a very good swim move that he puts together with a push technique, and he's able to get guys off balance and then use that swim move to get into the backfield. He puts interior linemen in some bad predicaments when it comes to balance and does a great job with that. He also is able to separate, especially when he's in tight quarters. He does a great job with that. Big fan of that. A big fan of what he does in there. You throw in strong, heavy hands to go with long arms, and you get a guy that can rock somebody back on their heels and then get control. And when you have pass rush moves like he does with the swim move and with some of the other things that he can put in his repertoire, he's got the ability to get after the quarterback and make some plays in the backfield, which is definitely something that you need. The long arms also help him when it comes to leverage and being able to get underneath offensive linemen's pads and win when it comes to a bull rush. He's not going to be the most phenomenal bull rusher because of the size, but he has the necessary strength and the necessary length to be able to be consistent there. So I think that he could be really good in a system like the 49ers that needs a guy that can play that 3-tech and be a disruptor. And you might want to double up at the position and get guys that can do it. And he definitely is one of those guys, that plays it pretty well. Now, what are some of the things you're going to question? Well, the run defense. I think he's got to get a lot better when it comes to playing the run. He's not a guy that does it consistently for sure. Taking on double teams, he doesn't always win. His pad level can sometimes rise as games go on, as he starts to fatigue. Those are going to be things he needs to work on. He can also, do consistency-wise, one perfect rep where his leverage is perfect. The next time he's standing almost straight up, that's going to be a problem. He struggles against double team. He needs to get better when it comes to technique and being able to sink his hips and anchor against double teams. But that's part of what you get when you get a 3-tech defender. And I get it. Everyone wants the 49ers to stop the run better, but you can't go out there with 2 1-techs, 2 guys that are just big, space eaters and expect to get after the quarterback. If teams see that, they're just going to go ahead and cut you to pieces when it comes to the outside run game and screen game and also throwing the football, where you're just not going to get enough penetration from the middle part of your defense. So you need to have both, and that's one of the things he needs to get better at. He also needs to get better with his pass rush game plan. So Farmer, I think, once again, in the 4th round with that elite length. You talk about the athleticism. I think he's somebody that teams are going to think they can mold into a really good defender in the NFL. So let's talk about Jordan Phillips out of Maryland. We're going back to the 1-tech category. This guy, very similar as far as grading when you're talking about him and like CJ West. They're kind of in the same category. I would say CJ West a little bit better than Jordan Phillips right now. 6'2", 312 pounds, so he has the extra inch. Not quite as big, not quite as athletic either as CJ West. He ran a 5'1", 40, but athletic enough for sure. And he had no sacks. So this is a guy that did not produce when it came to sacks on the football field. That's not what he's here for. He's here to stop the run. Is he as good as CJ West stopping the run? No, he's not. But he is a guy that's still developing. He still hasn't had that many plays playing in college, really 2 years of snaps in the NCAA. So he's got a lot of room to grow. He's still a young player. So this is more of a projection of what he could be, but there's some things to like about him. He's a talented guy. He's got a lot of strength. You're talking a guy that, squats crazy, power cleans like crazy, very talented guy. He's got heavy hands, which he uses effectively in the run game. But when we talk about heavy hands, that's getting somebody back on their heels with that initial strike. And he does that. If you can get somebody back on their heels, you win, you reset that line of scrimmage. That's extremely important when you're talking about a 1-tech. You establish that new line of scrimmage, and then you're playing in the backfield. And that's how you go from allowing, plays of positive gains, 3, 4, to cutting those things down. Maybe it's 1, 2, even a negative play. And he has the capabilities of doing that, which means he's also got the capabilities of going with the kickstand and being a good anchor when it comes to taking on double teams, which is huge. He comes from a wrestling background, which works for him. He's able to play with leverage and get under offensive tackles pad level, which is huge in what he has to do. He has great lateral movement, which could be problems for interior offensive linemen. The ability to be able to make those guys miss and then get into the backfield could be huge when it comes to slipping in the back door in the zone game, when it comes to the run, or just consistently getting after the quarterback, which is extremely important for the San Francisco 49ers. So I am impressed by his game. I think that there's a lot of work to continue to do with this guy, but at his size, he's got the ability to get in there and make some plays. And I think that you're talking about a guy that's 20 years old. There's a lot of development that still can go into Jordan Phillips and the player that he could become. And so I think that you're talking probably more of a late 4, early 5 round pick for Jordan Phillips compared to CJ West, who I think would be more of an early 4th round pick, maybe even a late 3rd round pick, depending on who you didn't get early, right? If the 49ers got to pick 100 and you needed a big run stopping defensive tackle, CJ West could possibly be that guy. But if you had other needs, other positions that you need to go with, you could bet on upside. And going with Jordan Phillips at pick 138, or even waiting till the 5th round, potentially with that pick you got for Debo at 147, could be tremendous value for Jordan Phillips. So I think there's still a lot of development there, but there's a lot to like about what he could be and the potential of the player he could become in the NFL. And I think, he would definitely make sense for the 49ers in that category. Next up, I'm going to talk about Walter Nolan's running mate. And it's interesting because this is a dude that is so athletic. He played on the offensive side of the ball as well. And that's J.J. Pegues, 6'2", 309 pounds, run a 5'1", 40. He had 3.5 sacks. And, that is an impressive number, 3.5 sacks. He had a really good season. But he's been consistent when you're talking about sacks. He's had, he had 3 sacks in 2022. He had 4 sacks in 2023. He's a guy that's consistent with his numbers at rushing the passer. Now, his numbers, even though he played fullback, he played wildcat quarterback in the NFL. The numbers are not going to jump off. There's nothing extremely athletic about him. He's just a talented football player. He plays the run pretty good, not wonderful, but he's a guy that would be consistent in doing what you need him to do. He's got a very good first step, and that's a prerequisite for playing for Chris Kasarik and the San Francisco 49ers, is a elite first step, and J.J. Pegues has that. So of the guys we've talked about, there's only been one guy that didn't have an elite first step, and that was CJ West. He had an adequate first step. But the other guys all have an elite first step that helped them win with speed and agility, cutting down that distance, because you go at a disadvantage with the offensive line knowing the snap count. You need to cut down that distance as soon as you can, and having an elite first step gives you an advantage to do that. And he does it at a high level. J.J. Pegues wins in the neutral zone all the time and gets into the backfield with penetration. And you're talking about a 309-pound defensive tackle. So he could play at 315, that intermediate category. I think he could get better against stopping the run, would be really huge for him. So the pad level is good. The handwork is good. The heavy hands are fantastic. I think he does a good job with that. He holds his ground pretty well against zone duo blocks. So we like J.J. Pegues stopping the run a little bit. It's going to be, that's something you had to do if you were going to play at Ole Miss. J.J. Pegues, Walter Nolan, both of them very physical at the point of attack, both heavy hands, penetrators looking to make something happen in the backfield. It's a scheme fit for the San Francisco 49ers, which is what you have to have. Then you throw in the lateral quickness ability that could give problems to interior offensive linemen. So when you're talking defensive tackles, you've got a couple of ways you can win against guards. Number one, lateral quickness against bigger offensive guards, and you could beat them to their spot. Then there's the category of, I'm stronger than you, you don't have an anchor, and I can run you over. His lateral quickness is going to give him the ability to get into the backfield and be able to make plays using his lateral quickness to go to the side of them and then use moves to go back. Also, he's going to be able to run all the stunts you need to run. You want to run TE stunts, you want to get him out on the edge, he can do that. He needs to set the edge. He's proven he can do that. So there's a lot of versatility with JJ Pegues as well, which I really like. Now, when you talk about a smart guy, he's very smart. Football IQ is through the roof. He's got an understanding of where he's supposed to be. He can read concepts, blocking assignments, and know what's going to happen with them, and then be able to do what he needs to do. So JJ Pegues is an intelligent player. He's an athletic player. He's a penetrator. I think he has a lot of potential to be a solid run stopper in the NFL. This is a talented guy for round 5. If he makes it to round 5, he would be very intriguing to plug and play because he fits a potential 3-down defensive lineman. Got enough ability when it comes to pass rush to get in there and be disruptive, but also the ability to stop the run. So he's got position versatility as well. You wanted to line him up on the outside as a D end in run situations, he could do that. You want to play him at the 3 tech, he could do that. You want to play him at the 1, he could do that. And so finding a versatile piece in round potential 4 or 5, that's huge because then you have guys you can plug and play. So he's got a lot of ability. He's got a lot of athleticism, a lot of toughness, competitive nature. He doesn't stop. He's aggressive. He's a guy that's a great teammate. I like JJ Pegues a lot. I think he's a guy that would make a lot of sense for the 49ers, especially when you get down into that range where he's going to go. And so he's a possibility for the 49ers in round 5. And a guy that's really one of the few that we've talked about with this group that's not locked into 3 tech or 1 tech, but can do both. He's one of those unique guys that can. And that's why I'm a fan of what he does and what he could add, to the football team. And you got to have guys like that. You got to have versatile players that can add to your football team and really make some plays for your football team. So, yeah, he's a guy that I am a huge fan. And I think that there are other players, that are going to kind of go in this range that, you're super excited about. And one of those guys is going to be Anias Peebles. Anias Peebles is a fun guy because he is an elite pass rusher. When it comes to getting after the quarterback, there's not many players that are on his level. He just gets after it. There are some elite guys when it comes to getting after the quarterback in this draft. One of them is Omar Norman Lott, who I'm a huge fan of. Another one is Anias Peebles. When it comes to winning, he could do it. Now, his frame and everything else, he's very undersized. This could be a guy that is nothing more than a 3rd down defensive tackle. But if you combined him with a Evan Anderson or a CJ West, you could potentially get a good unit. You got the player that plays 1 tech to stop the run, and then it's 3rd, 8, and 9. You bring in a guy that can win like Anias Peebles, and he can get it done. 6 foot, 282 pounds, played at Virginia Tech. Of course, before that, he played at Duke and was really solid there. He ran a 4.9 40. The athleticism is there for Anias Peebles. He's a talented guy. In 2023, he had 5 sacks for Duke. Last year for Virginia Tech, he had 3. And, he's a guy that just wins consistently and gets in the backfield as a penetrator. And he's not, once again, this isn't a guy that gets you with arm length. His arms are short at 31 3/8. He's not a guy that beats you with speed or athleticism. He just wins with technicality or with technical skills and his ability to get after the quarterback. So that's one thing I really like about him. I think he's very good in the pass rush, one of the best pass rushers in this whole draft. I think when it comes to run defense, he could get better, but he's not terrible. He actually holds up pretty well. His great first step, explosive first step, plays with leverage. He plays low. I mean, he looks like he's shot out of a cannon, and that's something that I look for. So what he does is he takes what could be a weakness, right, with a shorter frame, a lower weight, and turns it into an advantage because he plays low, he gets off the ball quick, and he gets into the backfield, and he wins getting into those gaps as quick as he can and being very difficult to deal with. He's always looking for a spot to go. He has violent hands. This is something consistent, right? Great first step, violent hands. Those are things that make you good pass rushers. And so he can win against guards because he will stun them with that initial contact and then be able to get in there. It's like Bill Walsh says, beat him to the punch. That is what he does at a high level. Anias Peebles is a guy that's very fun to watch. You watch his techniques. He's got good pass rush moves, but he's also got good counters. You won't make it very far into the film without seeing him hit you with a spin move that allows him to get in the backfield and get to the quarterback. He does it at a high level. He catches interior offensive linemen off balance. He catches them flat-footed, and then he gets in there and he makes some plays. He's athletic enough to get down the line of scrimmage against zone schemes. He's athletic enough to run after the quarterback and put them in tough positions as they're trying to scramble. I think that he's got very good contact balance for his size and is able to withstand secondary blocks and be able to get into the backfield. He's a guy that consistently wins hand battles and hand fights and has a good game plan when it comes to rushing the passer that has contingencies. Oh, you stop my initial contact, you stop my initial move, I'll spin off. Or I'll jump over and I'll hit you with my lateral quickness and hit you with a little club and rip and get by you. So there is a good plan. There's a good football IQ to Anias Peebles, and I think that's why he's so successful being able to get into the backfield. But he also diagnoses plays at a high level. Whether it's run, pass, or screen, he does a good job of knowing where he's supposed to be. He has good discipline, is able to do that. Now, when you're talking about some of the weaknesses, of course, it's going to be the arm length, under 32-inch arms. That's a little bit of a problem. And then also when it comes to anchoring against double teams, that's a problem. But like we talked about, this isn't a guy you're drafting to play one tech. This isn't a guy you're drafting for his elite run skills. He can stop the run, but not at the level that you want for your 3-down defenders right now. But he's a guy that can get after the quarterback as one of the best from the 3-tech position. So if you're pulling a 1-tech off, Anias Peebles coming in, he's got a little bit of that Javon Hargrave type ability to rush the passer. And I'm not talking what we've seen in the injury, Javon Hargrave, but some of the prime stuff. That's how I see him, one of those athletic defensive tackles. So he's a lot of fun. But yeah, he's got to get better stopping the run, but that's something he can develop at. And because of the leverage that he plays with, there's a lot of potential. So these are the guys I got to talk about in this one. I have more guys I want to talk about. Like one guy, I can see him right here on my list that I did not talk about is Jamari Caldwell from Oregon. But I did talk about him the other day in my episode about the Oregon prospects the 49ers could potentially draft. So that's why I made sure I went through some of the other guys. But go check that one out about Jamari Caldwell. Fun player, 6'1", 340 pounds, but still ran at 5'140. Disruptor, one technique, guy that can make a lot of plays. So he's exciting as well. There's other guys too that I want to get to. I'm not there yet, but we're going to. And let me know in the comment section if I didn't talk about your guy. But there was some really good ones in this. CJ West and at Joshua Farmer, at Jordan Phillips, at JJ Pegues, and Anias Peebles. Like, these names are names that you recognize and know at this point. And if you don't, get more familiar with them. They're a lot of fun. So thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I appreciate it. If you're listening to audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.